When I was 18, I somehow got into entrepreneurship and became very interested in owning my own business, being successful, all of the things that come along with it. And I was looking for the secret. What was the fastest thing, the shortest path that I could take to get there? And I kept coming back to, from everything that I've looked at, reading books in particular. And if you read a lot of famous or successful people's biographies, they often talk about reading. So what I wanted to do today, because reading has been such a big and important part of my life, was share the 5, 6, maybe 7 books that helped me as a coach. And one interesting thing that you're probably going to notice is that none of these books have to do anything with fitness. So we're going to take a little look here and let's see where we want to start. Okay. This is a great one, a great place to start as well, because it's a book from John Goodman. If you are unfamiliar with John Goodman, he started the Personal Training Development Center. When I was coming up as a personal trainer and a coach, that resource was number one. It was the best thing that I could find. The blogs were fantastic. And I just remember spending hours at a time and having hundreds, it felt like, of tabs open on my laptop that I would refer back to. And his first book, Ignite the Fire, took a lot of those blogs, put them into here, told you about how to be successful as a personal trainer, especially if you were working at another gym. So when I was younger and I was working at a Crunch Fitness, this book was perfect for telling me how to set up my desk to have things for clients, right? If they needed food or if they needed water, it told me how to sell, how to market myself. All the things were in this book, a fantastic one. It's a good one to start on. See if we can get this back smoothly without Maria, who's behind the camera, getting ready to kill me. We'll fix that after. All right, let's see what's next. Okay, I have another great one. Again, outside of fitness. This book's called Setting the Table by Danny Meyer. Danny Meyer is a restaurateur. I think that's how you pronounce that. And he had some amazing restaurants in New York City, eventually started Shake Shack, which I'm sure that you know of. And in this book talks all about client experience, or in his case, his patrons coming into his restaurant, how to give them the best experience possible to get repeat customers. A fantastic book here that I highly recommend. Okay, that was number 3. Okay, see if we can get this one out smoothly. Now this book is called Range by David Epstein. I read this a little later in my career, just a couple years ago, but it was really impactful because it helped tie together some thoughts that I had from earlier on. And what this book talks about, Range, the idea of it, is that, and I'll even just read the subtext, why generalists triumph in a specialized world. I was somebody who always struggled to dive in head first to one specific thing. I like to bounce around. I had many interests. I liked new and novel things. And this book was a perfect way that helped me see that I didn't necessarily have to specialize in one thing to, quote unquote, be successful. I was able to take all of my interests from other areas and be able to tie them together, and they were able to serve each other. So Range is a fantastic book, highly recommended. I'm gonna put this one away later. Moving on, if I were ranking these, so these are not ranked in order, but if I were, I think this book might be number 1 most influential, and that's How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Super, super old book, but when I was becoming a coach and getting started training, this was the first, the first view that I saw, or perspective that I had of recognizing how important the client experience was. Listening to people, talking to people, connecting with people, being empathetic. This book helped me bridge a lot of those gaps and build the skills that I didn't quite have. I thought training and coaching was all about the fitness side, and people just wanted to get fit and they wanted to only talk about fitness and the things that I was interested in, like reps and sets and weights and different exercises. Come to find out that most people that us coaches work with don't actually enjoy that stuff as much as we do. So we have to learn how to be human and talk to them as humans. And this book was the perfect book to help me do that. Now, there has been I don't know if it was intended to be this way, but there's a newer book that feels like an updated version of it. And it's called The Soulful Art of Persuasion by Jason Harris. Great cover as well. This book, very similar to How to Win Friends and Influence People, but really easy read, a great actionable steps in here as well. A great one if you've read How to Win Friends and Influence People and you want something a little different, or if you just want to try something else, this book's great. We're going to do one last sweep and see if there's anything else. I almost forgot. Maybe the most important book of all. Mindset by Carol Dweck. Carol Dweck was a researcher, I believe, or professor at Stanford, and she studied mindset and came up with the idea, if you're familiar with growth mindset and fixed mindset. I believe she was the, would you say, godmother of that? I think she started that study and the trend that is now a little trendier with growth mindset. This book is fantastic. I think this should be recommended reading, whether you're a coach. Any human should read this book because it is so impactful for helping open your mind and changing your mindset from being fixed, meaning that the way that we're born is the way that we stay for the rest of our lives, to recognizing that growth is possible no matter who you are. These are some of the most influential books on my career as a coach. Again, recognize that none of these are related to fitness. Not that fitness books aren't important, but as coaches, there are a lot of other aspects to the career that have to do and are outside of exercise, health, and fitness. And these are some of the best ones that you can check out.